I thought it was interesting that Grode Hegarty and Darragh O'Donovan, two lads in that sort of midfield engine room, were taken off in the final quarter when the game was there to be won and lost. I thought that kind of stood out to me, I have to say. Now, John Kylie, he talked about the red card incident, so Aaron Gillane getting 2 yellow cards. I'm not entirely sure what the first one was about. It seemed to be an off-the-ball incident. I didn't quite catch what it was for. But Kylie said, had the referee run in and told the players to get up off the ground, it would have been more appropriate. I don't think that was a serious misdemeanor at all. Now, I'm wondering to myself, is this the right attitude to have when, I don't know what view he had of it. I don't think Conor Cleary was ever going to be killed from that strike because it didn't seem to make much contact with him. But if you swing at a lad, generally they're going to make something of it, rightly or wrongly. We've seen that in the past couple of years, and sometimes you're sent off, and sometimes, like as Aaron Gillane found out in the Munster final last year, you don't get sent off. But by John Kylie almost excusing it, is he almost opening up the door for more of that happening from his team and more lads potentially getting red cards for doing stuff that he sees as not a serious misdemeanor?
Yeah, well, I know he retracted the comments after, but the comments he made after the Galway game last year were kind of that some Galway players were going to ground kind of too easily. So, there's kind of essentially saying something similar there. Well, I have to agree with you. Like, to me, it was a definite second yellow, possibly a red, but a definite second yellow. And I just have to say, Shane, the Jack Kelly sending off for Laois, have to give credit to the Antrim fella that he hit. He hit him straight in the chest, and your man never flinched. He was just like, what's going on here? He didn't go to ground or anything like that. To me, that's the way any sort of those incidents should be dealt with. And I don't like to see lads going down or anything like that. I don't like to see the Hollywood element of that. But I think it is peculiar that Kylie is more questioning. The one thing I'd say is he will not throw his own players under the bus at all. So maybe this is an alternative way of, rather than maybe he is frustrated with Gillane. And based on this year's performances, he'd have every reason to be. But the one thing he does not throw his players under the bus and never has.
Yeah. Water breaks are another one that Limerick seems to be missing. I mean, on the sideline, genuinely, you do want a water break at times. If players aren't doing what you'd hope they'd done, or if the other team throws something at you that you weren't expecting, you really would like the water break. That doesn't mean that Limerick are different to anybody else, but just maybe they're better at using it. Because, it does seem to be a collection of marginal gains where Limerick get ahead. And, please don't conflate that with me saying they're not a brilliant team and haven't been for the last 4 or 5 years. They're absolutely brilliant. But, those points have to be made at the same time.
Just another one, Shane, as well. Teams are letting Limerick have the puck out now. It's funny. It's funny to see it. They're letting them have it, and it's peculiar to see the Limerick lads just driving ball down. Barry Nash did it a couple of times. Dan Morrissey did it yesterday as well. Teams are just basically, Cork did it last week. Clare did it yesterday. They're retreating to the 45. They're letting Limerick have the puck out rather than, and the opposition team is basically flooding that half-forward midfield area. There's nowhere for Nicky Quaid to actually hit the ball at the moment where they have a realistic chance of winning it. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see. It looks like most teams that play Limerick are going to do that now. So you have to try and turn what is a disadvantage for Limerick now into an advantage. So can they work the ball to a Dermot Burns character at the 45, and can he put a ball over the bar, which will all of a sudden push the opposition up? I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they try and turn that minus into a plus.
Yeah, Sherp2U1 says, I'm not a fan of the Limerick style of play. They've won a lot, but the style of play is not my cup of tea. I think that style of play is going to become how everyone plays to a certain degree. And even Fergal Hartley, if you missed the start of the show, Fergal Hartley was brilliant talking about all this stuff. And he was suggesting that might be the way for a lot of teams, if I can paraphrase him. Nasa Coyne says, John Kylie's attitude is all wrong regarding red cards. These red cards could cost them in the future. Kieran Fennelly adds, Clare should have won, I thought. Limerick are not creating the same scoring chances, much less converting them. A lot of poor wides from far out. You still need to be using your inside forward. Should we even talk last week about how Limerick's creation in the All-Ireland final last year was 60 chances, and it was around half that in their game last week. Another point, you talked about those puckouts with Clare, and there was one that really caught my eye at one stage. Every Clare player was outside the 45 as Limerick worked out a short one. And look, maybe this was accident or design, but what seemed to me was that they were just going to choke up the middle. So, you know, in the past we've seen Declan Hannon or Nash or whoever comes out with the ball, does a stick pass in and around their own 65. Somebody does a hand pass to a player coming off the shoulder, and then they're up and motoring and they're running in past midfield and they play a lovely ball in. But it seemed to me that the middle was choked up and the space was left on the far wing. If you want to do the 2 or 3 passes across the field, stick pass or hand passes, to get it out there, you can. But we're just not offering you the centre. So you can have all the 45, you can't have the middle, and you can have the wings. And it's obviously very difficult to penetrate a team with a stick pass from the wings. So I think that's the template we're going to have now, that it's not going to be a case of even leaving 2 lads inside the 45 and try to shepherd and show the wing, you know, I mean, attackers. It's now going to be just everybody drop out. And if I was playing against Limerick, God, I wouldn't blame any team for doing that.
No, definitely not. Like, you're trying to see, the thing is as well, right? Limerick don't have those inside forwards now. They don't have Peter Casey at the moment, and even they don't have Seamus Flanagan. Didn't have Seamus Flanagan yesterday, and not going to have him the next day as well. So Limerick's threat inside is not what it once was. So it's kind of, as you said, I don't know if it's by design or not, but Limerick are shooting from out the field a good bit more, partially because maybe they want to, also partially because the opposition is forcing them to as well. So if I have to say, fair play to, you know, different management teams and backroom teams that are coming up with ways to stifle them, because they've definitely worked so far. Will Limerick be able to work it out and change what they're doing and basically, you know, have teams showing them the blueprint for what they're going to do against them maybe later in the year? Maybe. And it's going to be fascinating to see how, you know, Paul Kinnerk, John Kylie, Angus O'Brien, Alan Cunningham, and all these lads, Donal O'Grady, try and come up with something basically to blow that out of the water.
Yeah, and I felt that Limerick were targeting this game. The amount of fist pumping being done when they won frees and stuff like that, especially in the first half, that to me said this team wants to get a win here.